Yeah, welcome to episode 3 of Tales from the Trenches. Today we have Meghan Warren, principal of Burke and Associates. So Meghan, tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Burke and Associates.
Thank you, Partha. Thanks for the opportunity. A bit about me. I've been a director here for about 4 years. I've been at the firm about 5 or 6 now. In practice, in my 13th year of practice. So mostly practice in commercial business and litigation here at Burke's, although I help out also with the Wills and Estates team. That's really me in terms of the role here. I, as well as the legal practice side of things, operationally, I'm assisting with IT, advancements in IT, our strategy and marketing mostly. Although the day-to-day gets me caught up in other things too, which is all part of it. It's all fun. So, yeah.
It sounds pretty full on, Meghan. And
it is. Yeah.
From that, it's an all-encompassing role, obviously. You are one of the very few lawyers, Meghan, in Australia who has been admitted, obviously, to the New York State Bar. So can you tell us a bit about what motivated you to pursue admission to the New York State Bar?
Yeah, I think, as far as I know, in Victoria, there's sort of only a handful of us that have passed the bar. I think there's quite a few that have taken it and haven't succeeded. Especially on the first try, which is, luck, a bit more than luck, maybe.
Yeah. But much more than luck.
Yeah. But I guess what motivated me to take the bar, when I was admitted to practice here in Australia about 13 years ago, one of my closest friends who came to my admission, it reminds me now, I don't remember this then, but that I did say to her that day when we'd finished the admission that I wanted to be admitted in New York one day, and that I wanted to sit the New York bar because I'd heard it was one of the hardest exams in the English language. So I thought that was good enough reason at the time. But then I think practice life kind of went on and, I thought about it from time to time, but not really seriously. I looked into a few of the bar review courses that were offered over the years to kind of prep you to take the exam, and there wasn't that many of them, and they were pretty expensive for a young lawyer too, so that kind of put me off. But then about 4 years ago, I assisted in running a piece of litigation which was based in the States. Client was here, but I briefed local counsel there to assist as well, and so that kind of had me going over to the States a couple of times for mediations and sort of interlocutory hearing and things. So I was sitting in court there one day in federal court in that state, and the client had said to me, you know this case, better than anyone, like why can't you get up and advocate? Why can't you sort of say anything? And I said to him, I can't, like I'm not licensed in the States, so I'm not allowed. So that's why we've got local counsel here to do that. But I started to think, well, it's not dissimilar at all. The adversarial sort of process they have, it's a common law jurisdiction, just like we are. And I thought, look, this is going to happen more often. There's going to be people who are doing business across countries who are then perhaps getting into dispute because of that, in terms of this is a contractual dispute where the governing clause was the US, so that's what kind of ended us up there. So I thought, well, I can, now's as good a time as any, so I think I could do that, and it is a really rare thing. So that's what kind of spurred me on. So I started studying when I was kind of, I think, midway through that piece of litigation, thinking potentially as well that it might come in handy if that litigation continued. Ultimately it didn't, but if it did, that could have gone on for a number of years, and it may have become useful to me in that piece of litigation as well. So
fascinating. Say that. So overall, in terms of getting admitted locally enough, here is locally tough enough. How did you sort of manage the logistics of pursuing admission in New York? What was that like in real life? And in managing your time commitments as a principal of Burke and Associates
Yeah.
and doing that in such a hard exam? That must have been super tough.
It was. I mean, I sort of think back to it now and I think, I don't know if I could do that again. I'm not really sure how I did it at the time. It was, I mean, truthfully, it was like hard work. It was hard. And it was a lot of work, and it was a commitment that I'd made just to really give up any other parts of my life other than managing the practice, running the practice, my clients, and then going home, you know, trying to get home by kind of 7 and then having dinner and hitting the books till, you know, 11, sometimes 12 o'clock at night, like most weeknights. And then on the weekend you were kind of doing your test exams. So really not cutting any corners on the study, you know, super nerdy things like making flashcards and sitting there for the entire 6 hours of one of the portions of the exam and just doing the practice exam, you know, which a few of them, writing practice essays, sending them into the course to be marked, taking the feedback. So it was just a real investment by me that's what I was going to do, and if I was going to do it, I was going to pass the first time. I was going to do it well, and I knew how hard the exam was, and that it just wasn't an exam that you could scrimp on, study or cram or anything like that. So in terms of how I did that, perhaps I sort of put myself in a bit of a crazy mindset at that point, but you know, it was a commitment that I'd made, and I just kind of made it work. So
that's simply amazing, Meghan, in terms of, and that's one of the reasons I'm assuming, as you said, that only a few people have ever done it from that viewpoint. So did you spend much time in New York during your studies, and did you have any memorable experiences as a part of that? What was studying in New York like?
So the studying component I did entirely online. The first stage, I suppose, that you go through in getting recognition or permission to sit the exam is they look at your degree, so your law degree, and whether it's comparable or meets their international standards, which I went to Melbourne Uni Law School's, I think, the oldest in Australia. It's the first one. So yes, tick, fine. So I was able to do that. So I didn't have to actually do any kind of catch-up degree or anything in terms of the uni side of things, which was good. So it was just about literally learning the material for the exam and being able to pass it. So there are a number of bar review courses that you can do online. I think there's Barbary might have been the first one, but I did HEPA bar review. So that's entirely sort of all recorded and things. So you can do it any time, which suited me with work and things. So it was watching lectures entirely online, and then you're sort of doing the assessments and sending those in. So I didn't actually have to go to New York to study, at all, really. So it was the only times that I was in New York were the kind of 3 times that were part of the exam. So the first part, which is the hard part, the sitting the bar exam, and then there's a professional responsibility and ethics component as well, which is a separate exam, but it's at a completely different time of the year. So I flew over to sit that afterwards, and then to go over for the admission. So memorable experience, it would be from the exam, from that that first portion, really, the hardest portion, which is a 2-day exam. So 2 full days. The first day is the morning session, 3 hours of essays, so it's 6 essays and you have to write in 3 hours. So that was tough. And then you have lunch for an hour, and then there's almost like what I do every day, really, which is you get a packet of case study, facts, materials, legislation, and then you have to write like a memorandum of advice or a brief to council or whatever it might be. So that, and they give you the material for that. So that's more about testing your analytical skills and your ability to advise and that sort of thing. So that was fine. So that was the first day, and I thought, it's not so bad. There's a lot of people in the room who are clearly their entire life is kind of hanging on this exam, so they're very stressed. And I was more, this is an additional thing, like this is like fun to have, yes, I wanted to pass, but it wasn't as much pressure on me. So I think that probably helped a little bit in terms of freeing me up to be able to think clearly as well. So I felt, I was a little bit like gung-ho after the first, like, no, I went fine, I've got this. So I went actually to a cafe across the road at the end of the first day, and I was, sitting there and thinking, I've done really well. And there was a French woman came into the cafe as well, and she said, did you come from the exam? Did you take the exam today? I said, yeah. Took the exam. She said, me too. She said, it's my second time sitting the exam. And she explained that she has been working in a firm in New York for a good sort of 7 years, I think, at that point.
It's your second time.
Yeah, but she sort of failed the first time. And I said, no. She said, how do you think you went, today? I said, fine, very well, I think I passed, no problem. I said, wait for tomorrow. She said, wait for tomorrow. I was like, what do you mean wait for tomorrow? She said, tomorrow is the multiple choice day. It's called the MPT. So, MBE. She said, it's just wait. Oh, okay. So I went into the second day and I think it's 200 multiple choice questions in 6 hours. And I worked it out that it's about a minute and 43 seconds for each question. So you sort of have that in your mind, and reading through the questions, I realised that they weren't as easy as the ones I'd studied for. Like they were a lot more difficult. And that kind of, then I started to panic. And you're sort of watching the time. There's a big, digital, big red clock kind of ticking down. And you get to the last hour of this 6 hour session, and your brain is just it's slowing down, and you know that it's slowing down. And then so you start to panic a little bit more. So I felt, I've just never had an experience like it. It truly tested my brain to the limits. And I got outside and just sort of almost collapsed on the pavement outside. I just felt so depleted. So I think that was the most memorable, I suppose, part of it, because because I'd never been floored that much. I thought I had it in the bag and just completely didn't. And I think just the feeling that I felt after that of I answered all the questions in the end, even though the last 10 I sort of had to,
rush.
To just sort of guess, because it's multiple choice the last 10 and ran out of time. But just that feeling of, I guess it's the adrenaline as well, sort of the dump of all that you come out and go, wow, that's a huge thing that I've just done. And just the feeling of you certainly don't know. After that second day, you have no way of knowing if you've passed or failed, because it's just, you have no way of knowing. They put a number of dummy questions in that second day as well, so you don't know. And you also don't know how they mark these things either, so they don't kind of give you any feedback or anything. So, I still don't know exactly how well or not I did on that second day, but yeah.
But you set a very high benchmark, maybe, given most people don't pass the exam in the first instance, so that's fantastic. So in terms of, you've gone through an amazing process to become, to get this bar admission, what value do you think it brings to Burke and Associates clients, given such a unique proposition?
Well, I think having been admitted just in May, it's seeing the benefits of it now starting to filter through a little bit, but I think it'll be something that happens more and more. I had a number of clients at the time that I was admitted who had, whether it was current ties to the US in their business or were wanting to have more. So were wanting to branch out to the US in terms of their business or their idea or a design. wanting to set up even a completely new business, kind of a pilot of what they do here, but a different kind of pilot there to test it out, because it is a very different market. Obviously, huge. It's one of the biggest in the world. Very different to here. So I think that's where the value is going to come the most, is where we have a client that's based here, whether it's a hub of their business or them personally, that they live here and they're looking to extend those ties into the US in some way. It could also be that they're looking to relocate in terms of family life and things. I've definitely had those clients too. So it's just wanting to have that touch with a lawyer here who has that experience and practice, and who has really good connections in the States too, because I've got a lot of partners who, whether I've worked with them before or connections that I've built from my visits over there since, that I'm road testing, so that I know who I can go to and trust when I'm outside of my scope of expertise. It might be that they need specific advice, say, on a really discrete property issue within the states that, in a particular state that I couldn't advise on, then I know who to go to for that. Health regulatory advice as well in the States. There's a number of contacts I have who are, just expert in that field. So sometimes it's about knowing how to, where to advise where you can here locally, and then to partner with those overseas as well. So,
That's an excellent value. And I said more and more businesses are looking to go to the US, being one of the largest markets, and a tough market to crack also.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other element to it is the dispute side of things as well. So, the US is a highly litigious country. It's adversarial, the same as us, but even more so. We have particularly in Victoria, we have a really strong emphasis on mediation, alternative forms of dispute resolution, and kind of exhausting all those options before commencing proceedings. That's not the case in the States, so that can take a lot of people by surprise when they are doing business here or live here, and then kind of find themselves in a dispute and would handle that dispute the normal way that they would handle any dispute here, and then find themselves in hot water. And it can often be the case that clients have contracts that they might not even realise when they sign it, but that the governing law clause in the contract relates to it or is the US. So if there is a dispute, our law might not apply at all. It will be subject to the US, and they might find themselves, being sued over there, which is not ideal. So
it's a very complex area of law, and clients would be comforted, obviously, by your expertise and networks, Meghan, around this very specialized area. So in terms of the incredible legal experience that you've had in doing this incredibly tough thing that very few legal professionals have done, if someone is looking to do this, what tips would you give them as someone who has gone through that experience and done so well?
In terms of sitting the bar exam or sitting, for any of the US state exams, which California, I understand as well, is particularly difficult. I guess I just have to say study. Like there's you cannot cut corners. Definitely get yourself into a bar review course, a good one. PIPA bar review was amazing for me, and I did have quite a good connection and touch with the family that runs a PIPA bar review too. So it wasn't like I was dealing with a sort of faceless, large corporate, if you like. There was still that kind of family connection where they would reach out and help you, one-on-one if you needed it. So it didn't feel like I was being sort of treated like just here's your sort of online lectures and good luck. It was quite interactive, even across borders, which was really great. Do the practice assessments, do them a number of times and send them in to get that feedback, because if that's the only kind of feedback you'll get as to whether you're on the right track in terms of your study. I mean, I would say try and find somebody to, like a mentor or something, you know, in the States who can help you with tricky concepts if that comes up. I know that's something that might not be open to everyone, but I think people would find on LinkedIn, things like that these days. Lawyers in the States, people in the States generally, just so helpful in terms of wanting to assist a young lawyer or a lawyer who's kind of coming up in sitting the bar exam. I mean, I had so much positive feedback by people in the States that I was from Australia and I was coming to do that.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
So reaching out to someone, in a firm kind of and asking for that support, I think that would be really valuable as well. But study, get lots of sleep the night before the exam, eat well. Try not to be stressed in terms of the sitting in exam conditions. That's probably the best advice.
Very valuable advice, Meghan, and still it's a unique and very tough thing, obviously.
Yeah.
In wrapping up, something a bit different, can you tell us something about you that your colleagues at Burke and Associates won't know? Is there anything that the team here doesn't know about you?
Yeah, that's tough because I'm a bit of an open book, so they know most things about me. But I think what they probably don't know is that I'm actually a really good cook, and they might not know that, or they might not think I have time to do any of that. And I do have a bit of an obsession with boxer dogs as well, which they probably don't know either. But everything else, I think they know. They know that I love wine. They know I love travelling. They know that I am a bit of a crazy kickboxer with Thai boxing and CrossFit and things. So, that keeps me busy, all of that. So.
Now, thank you, Meghan. It's absolutely amazing, the experience that you've had in terms of doing this bar exam, and I think it's very insightful for many budding lawyers who may be even looking at this to realize how hard it is and how much time commitment and balancing act is required while you're maintaining your role as a principal to do this. So thank you for sharing these insights with us on this podcast.
Thanks, Partha.
Thanks, Meghan.